Fuji 56mm f1.2. Is this a good portrait lens, and is it worth buying if you're a portrait photographer? Catch me after the break and I'll let you know if it is worth buying this lens. What's happening, YouTubers? Thank you for coming back and viewing this latest video. First of all, before we get cracking, just want to thank you guys for all your awesome comments on my last video, X-Pro 2 for weddings. Keep them coming in. I'm loving reading about your experiences, about using X gear, and if you've switched from a different system, or if you're thinking about switching, or if you're a little bit nervous. So please feel free to comment. I try and answer most comments. If it's people trolling and just being idiots, then I don't even bother. But if you're serious and you want any kind of help or information, I will definitely respond back to you. Thanks again for all the new subscribers. I appreciate you guys. It's amazing the response and feedback that I've been getting. And actually, I want to say thank you to all you guys in the States, actually. I didn't even realise that I had any type of following in the States. It's obviously a very small following at the moment. But thank you guys, I appreciate it. So without further ado, let's talk about the Fujinon 56mm f1.2. The reason I chose this lens to talk about is because it's almost instantaneously become probably one of the best portrait lenses that I've used. So I want to give you a bit of background information on that and what I mean by that. When I was using the Canon system, my favourite portrait lens was actually a 70-200 LIS2. I love the way that lens had amazing compression. It was sharp, so you knew if you nailed your focus and you're shooting at 200mm or 150-200mm, you'll get that awesome compression that you get from a full frame camera. You've got some lovely depth of field. The out of focused areas were absolutely stunning. Buttery smooth bokeh, and I love that lens. But when I switched over to the Fuji system, as I've talked about previously, the biggest thing that I was nervous about was what portrait lens was I going to get. Fuji absolutely hit the nail on the head with this lens. It was designed to be what it is. It's a fantastic portrait lens. It's obviously an f1.2, which gives you the depth of field of an f1.8. There's no arguing that. It does give you the depth of field of 1.8. I shot with a Canon 85mm 1.8, and 56mm in crop terms works out to 85mm. However, it gathers the light of a 1.2 lens. I'm not really bothered or emotional about the actual lens giving me an f1.8 kind of depth of field. If you've shot with 1.2 lenses, you know it's really, really hard to nail focus in certain situations. However, when you do, your images just look simply stunning. So 1.8 isn't disastrous, it's actually really, really good. Of course I would have preferred it if it was an f1.2, actual 1.2 in terms of depth of field, but using a crop sensor camera, it's not possible unless Fuji bring out their anticipated 33mm f1, which will be more of a 53mm. So it won't give you quite the look and the compression of the 56mm. I'm going to throw some images up, so bear with me. I just want to talk a little bit more about this lens. So when the video, basically when I stop ranting or talking, I'm going to just throw some images up and you can have a look at the sort of images I've taken from this lens. But in regards to the weight of it, it's a lovely balanced lens. It's 405 grams, so it's made of metal and glass. It feels weighty, but it's a really nice balance. Even on the X Pro 2, which has got a smaller grip, it feels absolutely beautiful. The aperture ring, I think, is my only gripe with this lens. So the aperture ring, let's just spin that around it like that. It's the old style aperture ring. So that's at 1.2, and it goes right up to f16, and then you've got your auto mode there. My only drawback is the aperture ring is a little bit loose. It's not like the newer f2 lenses that have that stiffer aperture ring control. So sometimes I do find I pull the camera out of my bag, and if I've got this lens on it, probably 8 out of 10 times that's moved. And anyone that owns this lens would probably tell you, you buy this lens to shoot at f1.2. I mean, there's no point in getting this lens if you're going to shoot it higher. Saying that, sometimes you have to f2, maybe at 2.8, just to get, you know, if you're trying to shoot 2 or 3 people at a time, just to get that extra depth of field to make sure everyone's in focus. Beautiful lens compression, absolutely buttery smooth bokeh and out of focus areas. Let's talk specs. I hate specs. I absolutely don't like talking about specs for a lens, because I like to see the images that come from the lens. I mean, it's a lens, right? But I know some people do like specs, and that's cool, that's fine. So I'm going to give you some specs that may be of importance to you. To me, they don't mean anything other than things like the weight, for instance. So the weight, 405 grams, I think I touched on that. 62mm filter thread, so if you want to whack on a UV filter or ND filters, 62mm is not massive, so you can pick them up pretty cheap. 11 elements in 8 groups, whoa, whatever that means. 1 aspherical and 2 extra low dispersion elements, and 7 rounded aperture blades. So the only thing that really means anything to me there is the 7 rounded aperture blades, because that does give you nice circular out of focus area, things like if you've got bokeh balls in the background. So, oh, and actually the closest focusing point, 0.7 meters. That's how much I care about specs. But there you go. All in all, if you are switching over and you need a good or actually excellent portrait lens, this is the one to go for. They do the APD version as well, which is about £300 or £400 in the UK, more expensive. It's meant to give you slightly nicer out of focus areas and bokeh balls. Is it worth that? I don't know. I don't think so. And you lose a little bit of light. So personally, I wouldn't bother with that particular lens. I think it's a specialist lens, and if you're buying that lens, you know the reason why you're buying that lens. But if you want a good all-round portrait lens that gathers an immense amount of light in dark situations, be it for personal use or professional use, get the 56mm f1.2. The only other negative, other than the aperture ring, is I hate these lens caps. These old style Fuji lens caps with a pinch. They're awful. They are. I mean, they're just awful. They don't really sit right. I hate them, but you can always pick up another lens cap off Amazon or eBay if that's your thing. Without further ado, I'm gonna whack some images up for you right now and give you an idea of the sort of images you can get from this lens. I'll see you guys soon with another upcoming video, probably another lens talk video. Could be the 16-55 f2.8 or the 50-140 f2.8. Not sure yet. Debating that and seeing which one's going to be next. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you real soon. Cheers. Bye.